just like solving any equation, although if you notice, we have this squared that we're going to have to undo, and we'll end up undoing that by using a square root. So that's why this is called solving by using the square roots. But first, before we even get there, we need to figure out where our squared is. It's right here, which is outside of this parentheses. So we need to get this all by itself. We have this 1/3 and the +2 that are both on this side. We need to get those to the other side. So we want to make sure we do this in the right order. The 1/3 is being multiplied by our parentheses where the 2 is being added. And, what would we undo first in solving an equation, multiplication or addition? And we would undo the addition first. So we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And we have 1/3 times x minus 5 squared equals, now 8 minus 2, or 10 minus 2 is 8. I'm thinking ahead a little bit. Alright, so now we can work on we're still getting this set of parentheses by itself, so let's work on that 1/3. We haven't done this in a while, but if you guys remember, my favorite way to get rid of fraction is to just multiply by the reciprocal. Because it's 1/3 times a whole thing in parentheses, we can go ahead and multiply by 3/1, which means we multiply the other side by 3/1, because those are going to cancel, and we're left with x minus 5 squared equals 8 times 3/1 is 24. Now we get to the part where we can undo our squared. Now the squared right here, the opposite of squaring is taking the square root. So we want to do the opposite to undo it. We take the square root of this side, which means we have to take the square root of the other side. Now when you take the square root, what happens is it's just like, the squared and the square root cancel each other out. So these cancel each other out, and what we're left with is just that x minus 5 in parentheses. And I'm just, because we're not squaring it anymore, I don't need the parentheses. So I'll just write x minus 5 equals square root of 24. Now, the thing that we have to remember, and maybe in the beginning we could have mentioned this, anytime that we have a squared in a problem and we're solving for x, that means that we're going to have two answers. So we just got to the point where we would show our two answers. When you take the square root of both sides, you have a positive square root of 24 and a negative square root of 24. Those are both our answers when we take the square root of both sides. And so now, to finish up the problem, we're getting close to being done. We're going to add 5 to both sides. So we have x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 24. And, it looks pretty good. We might be done, but we want to just double check and look at the fact that we have a square root of 24, and can that be reduced at all? If we remember our perfect square numbers, 4, 9, 16, 25, and so on, do any of those fit perfectly into 24? 4 is our lucky number that's going to help us out, so this will break down into the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. And we know the square root of 4 is 2, so our final answer, x is equal to 5 plus or minus 2 square roots of 6. And there we go. If we were, the two answers here, we have 5 plus 2 root 6 and 5 minus 2 root 6, but we can put them all together as one right here. If we were to type into a calculator, we would get that exact, decimal value for those two answers.